Welcome, Matt and Mark. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's start. Why don't you introduce yourselves and your organization? Matt, we'll start with you.
Sure. So my name's Matt Richard. I'm the Chief Information Officer for LiUna. LiUna is an international labor union that represents about 500,000 workers across the United States and Canada in the construction trades, healthcare industry, sanitation industry, and a variety of other roles. I've been an Appian customer now since 2012, so I'm kind of the old man here when it comes to using Appian.
12 years is not old. What about over to you, Mark?
Mark Walsma. I'm with Aon. We started our Appian journey about 3.5 years ago. I sit on the reinsurance side of Aon, specifically in the risk transfer and broking services side. Put simply, we help broker insurance for insurance companies.
Great. So as introduced, curious, how has the relationship evolved between the business and IT? So Mark, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer that IT is at its best when we are closely aligned with the business on both a strategic and a financial standpoint. And we really were prior to the pandemic. But a few things have evolved over the last few years that I think are interesting. So one is, by all measures, we think output has increased. At the same time, quality took a step in the wrong direction in terms of defect leakage, defect density, defect removal effectiveness. So we did some introspection on why that occurred. So no doubt, Appian has let us deliver products to market quicker. No doubt, it has let us iterate with the business on a more frequent basis. No doubt, it has let us get things to production. The work from home angle has been interesting. So prior to the pandemic, about 30% of our IT staff and reinsurance was hubbed in the Minnesota area, which means everyone else was dispersed globally, literally across every continent. And the feedback that we got from the majority was actually, hey, communication's actually gone up. It's improved because now we're all on a level playing field. We're all using the same communication channel. So communications that were happening previously in meeting rooms or in hallways around water coolers has gone away and it's been replaced with a common communication mechanism for everyone. So that's been well received. We think that has increased productivity and output as well. Looking at the quality angle, at the same token, what we lost was that unstructured ad hoc type communication, which was absolutely essential. So doing some root cause analysis on some of our quality issues, it's like this wouldn't have happened in the past because we would have had a case where we said, oh, I'm working on this. Well, have you thought about these downstream impacts, right? Or hey, have you heard about that patch going out in the data center this week? You better double check something. And so we need to creatively find a way to keep that going.
Yeah.
It's an important part of our business, and so.
Got it. And Matt, what about at LiUna?
So it's interesting. So Mark came from a distributed workforce across the world. Our workforce was in one building in Washington, D.C. Every day of the week, right? So when we went to this kind of new distributed model for work, we were worried a little bit at first that it was going to be kind of a shock to everyone's system. How are we going to deal with this? But partly because we had put most of our applications on Appian, and we were more or less by mistake prepared to be able to work from anywhere, we were able to hit the ground running within a week of this whole awful situation happening, right? But from an overall relationship between business and IT, what has really seemed to happen during this is there started to become this sense of how valuable IT is to the organization, right? When you're in the building every day, seeing each other every day, you're not necessarily connecting the dots with what the IT department is doing for you to help you work, to help you get your work done, right? So because of that, people started coming to us more with more ideas to digitize their processes. And because we're using Appian, we're able to very quickly, in a matter of weeks, demo a product to them, get their feedback, incorporate their feedback, and roll out new applications. So we hired 2 new great employees during the pandemic. when we're able to now really start catching up on a backlog of ideas we've had because folks in the business side are starting to see, oh, IT is here for more than getting me my new computer. They're here to actually help me do my job better. So that's been nice.
Great. I love that. So when we think about, the summary around IT and the business relationship, right? Increasing not only productivity, as Mark mentioned, but also adding value as part of that. And Matt, I kind of joke about it, but my mother thinks I fix computers for a living, so there we are. But what about some of the meaningful use cases? How have you used the Appian platform in your organization?
So, like I said, we use it for everything, right? From processing our membership data to paying out benefits for our members that work on projects all throughout the United States and Canada. I mean, Appian drives whether or not some of our members have access to their healthcare. So there are a lot of use cases we're doing there. We're working on using IDP for a process on reviewing all of our old contractor data. So the goal there being, if we understand who's hiring our members, then we could potentially reach out to these multinational corporations and say, oh, well, you're hiring members in Boston and Chicago. Why don't you hire members in Atlanta and Miami, right? It's not always as simple as that, but if we can leverage these tools that Appian gives us to take this decades worth of data we've collected over time in paper and in somewhat digital format and actually extract out the right data elements, I think that it's going to prove even more valuable in getting our members to work, which is what really it's all about for us.
Great. And Mark?
Yeah, so at a high level, our use cases have really been around human-to-human and human-to-system orchestration. So we actually started with the back end first, looking at the claims, premium, settlement processes. We had a large set of complex applications that were really geared towards an expert-type user base. Very configurable, very flexible, but required quite a bit of domain knowledge to execute properly. And so we wanted to layer case management and process orchestration on top of that to speed up premium claim settlement times. To just give you a sense of scale, about 50 billion in premium flows through these back-end systems on an annual basis.
Wow.
And then on the front-end side, with the sales placing process, it was really about streamlining the process for clients and brokers to place reinsurance contracts.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to flow through the app. So I'm curious, as Appian has been traditionally more known in facilitating the building of apps, right? And as we have extended our suite, as you've heard in the last couple of days, give us a sense, how else are you leveraging Appian? Mark, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so really excited about the process mining. I just scratched the surface on that. I think we're going to get something going when we get back. The IDP, we're a little bit further along on that journey as well, and that's been very interesting. So within our use case, we had about 3,000 types of unstructured claim documents that we would get. And it was a very human cognitive process to read the document, pull out the relevant claim details, match it to an existing contract or claim in our system, and perform some data entry. And so we looked at automating that. And we looked at like 6 different tools out on the marketplace. And what we realized was, the technology is here, and now it's affordable. But what we didn't want to introduce was a disjointed user experience into the process. And so as we were evaluating various options, it was like, well, the user's got to go here to feed through to the feedback loop, or they got to go here for document ingestion. And then when we realized that Appian was going to offer this capability, like light bulbs went off. And it's like, well, yeah, if I've already got my process orchestrated through Appian, I've already got my users in Appian doing case management, and now I can just insert this in the middle seamlessly. It was like, yes, that's how we want to solve this problem.
Got it. And Matt?
Yeah, so one of the, beyond Appian, we're really not using any other platform to build applications, right? We see that Appian has all the pieces we need, and one of the kind of feelings I have with my team or statements I make to my team is, if you want to build something, why aren't you building it Appian?
Yeah.
If there's a use case for it, you can try to make it to me, but I've yet to find that. And one of the things we were able to do recently is, while it was still in beta, we went live with a portal because why not? And we leveraged it to run our delegate registration and verification for our 5-year convention. So I talked a bit about that yesterday, so I won't talk too much about it. However, it was a really successful and quick turnaround to get that application up and running. So we're trying to leverage the Appian suite for everything we can, because work is in many ways just process. So why not?
Yeah. Plus, we like that. We like hearing that. Like, why not Appian, right, as part of it? But so let's talk about the future. What are you excited about for the future? I'm going to start at the end with Mark.
Yeah, I think what excites me the most is we're really only limited by our imagination and what we want to prioritize and sort of what we want to break off next. Like I came from a developer background. I like solving business problems. I like taking something complex, breaking it down to smaller pieces, encapsulating it, putting a simpler interface on it for consumption. And that dynamic or paradigm hasn't changed with Appian. It's made it faster. It's made solving business problems quicker, and that's what I'm excited about.
Good.
And for us, it's portals. So our organization, as it's structured, is we have an international set of employees that help support our local unions and our members through things like organizing efforts, political action efforts, negotiations with national contractor efforts, and things like that. So what we haven't really had the opportunity to do all these years is get technology in front of the most important customer we have, our member. So now with portals, not having to have them create an Appian account or go through the licensing process of figuring out how to even do that, we're able to get them interacting through technology with the international. And that lends itself to a number of great ideas, right? One of the things we're batting around right now is one of the most important things for us, besides making sure our members have good jobs and good pay and good benefits, is making sure they're safe. Well, now with portals, we're discussing an opportunity to give members the ability to report unsafe work conditions on the job site. And that can then kick off a back-end Appian process that can notify our international reps and our local union business leaders and our health and safety fund to say, hey, there are unsafe working conditions out here. We need people on the job to check those out, right? And so what that can then drive is this value that the member sees in how they interact with their local union and with their international. Because there can be a disconnect at times, right? You get on a job site, you're working for a contractor, you kind of sometimes forget that you're wearing that LiUna badge. And we want to make sure we can deliver valuable, meaningful, positive experiences to our members. And I think with portals, that's just one of many opportunities we're going to have to start that process and be able to have that interaction and that relationship that we weren't really able to have in the past.
Yeah, just to give the audience a sense of just the scale, when we were talking before, literally for LiUna, with the, before you using it for about, 300 or so regional folks, right? And now, give us a sense of like the extension. I think it's really high with the portals piece for the consumer.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we had 300 leaders of our our local unions using the system. Now it can be 500,000, right?
Wow.
So we can now open up access to 500,000 people to interact digitally with their union. And for us, that can create that positive experience so that they, we want them to understand that we're here for them and that when they pay their dues every month, they're getting value for that. And technology is giving us the opportunity to make that connection. And now we're able to integrate that with back-end Appian processes that make us more efficient, let us deliver more value. So it's powerful.
Yeah, and Mark and Matt, what I really love hearing about is you want to really leverage the platform to personalize the experience for the end user and just to make sure that that adoption journey aligns with their experience as well, which is something that typically when we're developing apps and software, we're not really thinking about, right? We're thinking about, hey, let's go through the checklist of getting the I would say solving the business problem, but not necessarily the end user.
Right. No, that's very true. I actually have the luxury, though, of I'm not really a developer, so I come more from a mindset of how would I use this thing,
Yeah.
right? Which I think my development team might love or hate sometimes when I say that. But so you're absolutely right, though. Like having this ability to give this nice, clean, seamless interface, integrates, doesn't require any training, allows them to just participate in their union. It can be game-changing, I hope.
Yeah, so what I really love is when you look at the Aon story, 2 years with us, right, from an adoption perspective. The LiUna story, 12 years with us, and you can see the difference around the adoption as part of it. And I just really love the journey for both of the organizations. But I got to poke some fun at you. So I couldn't help notice what's going on with the socks here. Like, I think, what happened?
So, well, yesterday during the panel, Pavel, was up here wearing Pavel up here with 2 different socks, and I think he was trying to be like a trendsetter. So, since I'm your best beta customer, I thought I'd test out this trend, see if it's flying, and hopefully it's working for me.
I don't know. We'll have to get a vote from the audience. What do you think?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Mark and Matt, for coming to share with the audience. Hopefully everybody found this useful. And please track them down as we go through the next couple days together. So thank you.